Okay, I am sitting here today with the winner of our case study finalist competition, Angie McPherson, who has an incredible, inspiring entrepreneurial story to share. Angie, I can't wait for you to share your story on the
Oh my
podcast.
gosh.
I don't know if there was a dry eye watching your case study video.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I want to dive right in and turn it over to you. Can you tell us about your journey since you started your digital business, and maybe even take us back to what you were doing before you had an online business?
Yes, absolutely. So I am a photographer. I'm a branding photographer. And before I dove into the online space, I was actually a wedding photographer. So working 8 to 10 hours every single weekend, one-on-one clients, which was great. For years, I loved it. I love my brides. But as I got older and I started, growing my family with my husband, I was like, I want to be home on the weekends. I want to work during the week, but I don't ever want to go back to a 9 to 5. So how can I kind of,
No, thank you.
right? Like, how can I kind of pivot my business? So I pivoted my business from a wedding photography business into branding photography. So now I photograph entrepreneurs. I photograph them, Monday through Friday, within the normal business hours. I don't shoot, evenings or weekends. And I also make so much more money doing branding photography because we're working with the same clients over and over. We don't work with the same brides over and over. We really want our brides to just, have one wedding and that's it.
Yes,
But as a
just the
branding
one.
photographer, right? As a branding photographer, it's a much more scalable business. And so as I pivoted into branding photography, I really had so many other photographers asking me, how did you make that pivot? How did you pivot from weddings
Mhm.
into branding, or from seniors into branding, or newborns? A lot of people really tried to really just focus on a different niche of photography. And so I was chatting with Jasmine Star actually in person, and I was telling her this, and she said, you need to launch a course on this topic. And I was like, oh my gosh, that would be so fun. I didn't even really think about putting together some type of program. I was just like, answering a lot of questions in the DMs, answering a lot of
Yeah, there
emails.
was a natural need for it. It
Yeah,
was what people were coming to you and saying, Angie, you're doing this. Can you show me how you're doing it?
exactly, exactly. And
Mhm.
so she said, I'll never forget the best advice that someone's given me. She said, you need to buy where the land is cheap and build a high rise. And oh my gosh,
Jasmine,
I know,
what a
I just
smart
took that.
cookie.
Right, right. And so I'd actually found out about James and the program through Jasmine, because I know that she was in his mastermind. And I went through all the training, I went through the launch, and I was just sold. I was like, this is exactly what I need to be doing. I need to be teaching. I need the steps. I like to have A to Z steps.
Yes.
That's how I implement things the best. I'm not really a wing it type of girl. And so when when I enrolled and just saw the amazing trainings in step A, B, and C, and here's a slide deck for the webinar that you can customize, and here's some email templates, I was like, this is gold. This is literally what I need to execute some type of program. And so as much as I loved it, life got in the way, and I sat on Business by Design for 6 months. I watched all of it. I soaked it up.
You're not the only one.
I know. And I wish I would have started sooner. And I sat on it for 6 months, and then I went to BBD Live, and it just
Yes,
gave
which we're
me,
bringing back this
yes,
year. It's
I
coming back.
cannot wait. I cannot wait. And I went through all BBD Live. I met amazing people, and I was like, I need to actually just launch this daggone course. I need to
Yes.
launch the course. And so I literally came home from BBD Live and put a beta opportunity out there. And I said, hey, photographers, I'm putting together a branding photography course. I'm looking for, 20 people to join. And I literally just posted it like on Instagram. I think I may have even had a little email wait list. And within hours, it sold out. And so it was like, I made my investment back into BBD and then some. Like,
For
I'm
6 months, you're
like, right,
just stalling and then sold out in hours.
exactly.
Wow.
And I'm like, if I would have done it the 6 months prior, I would have been on like launch number 2 right now. And
Whoa.
yeah, immediately made it back and had the most incredible beta students, incredible program, so many things I thought I was going to teach. They helped me to kind of think bigger and more fine tune it. And it was just an incredible experience. And so that was, gosh, I think 2019. So since then, I've launched the program twice a year. since then. And it's just been amazing. I've seen so many other photographers just completely transform their business. And then it gets to 2021 and January, I have my biggest launch and I closed the cart. And 2 days later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and just literally pulled the rug from under me. And I had just had this amazing launch. I was like, I'm not canceling this, this course because literally my life depends on it right now. I need, this revenue. I need to be able to continue building my business. I don't want to see this diagnosis as, I'm done, death sentence type of thing. I want to live my life and still be the entrepreneur and the mom, the wife that I am. And so I literally told my students, they were very understanding. And for the next couple of weeks, I went through surgeries. I was literally answering, course questions in the Facebook group from the hospital bed. And all I can think about, somebody might listen to that and be like, oh my gosh, that just seems like so daunting to have to go through that and still have to answer questions. I freaking loved it. I loved it. It was the best distraction from all the mess that I was going through. And just being able to still, I'm an Enneagram type 3. I like to work. I like to
oh girl, welcome to the club. I'm a type 2 with a 3 wing and James is 3 for sure.
Right. And so being able to still help people and still show up in my business any type of way during all of this was such a blessing. And I went through surgery, and then I did 5 months of chemo, 6 weeks of radiation, literally the entire calendar year from January through December of 2021. I was going through active cancer treatment. I was literally taking coaching calls from the chemo chair and just answering things from the doctor's office. And it was such a blessing. It was such a blessing because if I had not built this business, if I had not built this online business, I would have had so many photo shoots canceled. I would have had so much revenue gone. At that point,
it depended on you being there live in person. Yes.
Right. And I still did have photo shoots that I had to reschedule, but the photography was just a small portion of my revenue. Most of my revenue was coming from the digital space. And so my clients that I photographed were totally understanding. I could move them. And I was like, wow, if I had so many photo shoots right now, I would be done. My business would fold. And I was still able to launch again that summer in the midst of losing my hair, in the midst of the worst part of chemo. I launched all over again. And it was just the easiest launch because the ads were built, the email sequences were scheduled, the webinar slide deck was updated, everything was already built. And I'm just so thankful that I wasn't trying to make things happen, that things had already been in a great place. And it was just rinse and repeat. All I did was rinse and repeat. I still showed up live. I still answered questions. Some of the calls were even pre-recorded, so that was nice. So it's just been such a blessing to have BBD, and I still log into it and update anything. If there's new strategies in there, new copy that I can customize. I like to go in it with every launch and just see, is there anything that I could be, fine tuning or updating or revising? And it's just been such a blessing.
I just want to acknowledge you for the courage it takes. I'm trying not to just totally cry talking to you because it's just so moving, your spirit and your courage, how brave it is to be in the midst of that. And then to still decide, I'm still going to launch. I'm still going to show up full blown for my students. And I'm going to be in the chat. I'm going to be answering emails. I'm going to answer all of their questions, even if I'm in a chemo chair receiving therapy. That is so touching. It blows me away. And I know that everyone who had heard your story in the Rise of the Digital CEO was equally touched by that. And so I just want to pause here to just acknowledge you for like how brave that is to keep pushing forward. And what I can hear out of that is that because of all of the work that you've done structuring the business, James loves to say, the more structure you put in the business, the more freedom you get in your life. 100%. And that really is the living proof of that.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you think? Okay, if you're really honest with yourself and you look back at those 6 months where you had it, but you had the course, but you just didn't take action, what's holding you back?
I was building the business as I was trying to teach it. And I think that I kept saying, okay, maybe in another 6 months when I have more experience under my belt, or when I have, even more clients and more case studies. And when I went to BBD Live, and got to talk to so many people and see people on stage, and I was just like, it doesn't matter. I don't have to wait 3 years. I don't have to wait 5 years. I've built this amazing business, and pivoted from another genre of photography. Where I am right now, I can help people that are behind me. Fifth graders can help
I
fourth
just got
graders.
chills.
Like high
Yes.
schoolers can help middle schoolers. Like, I don't have to be 10 years ahead of my ideal student. I can be 6 months ahead of my ideal student. And so from then, with every launch, I'm always adding in new bonuses and strategies and templates and things like that, because I am still an active branding photographer. I'm still growing my business year to year. And I was telling my husband this last night, I was like, I feel like I've got people on my back, and I'm like, let's go. Like, let me lead you to the next thing. And so I have people who just picked up a camera who are taking my courses, and I have people who have even photographed brands longer than me, and they just want to see a different perspective and a different way of growing. And so I have to like stop myself from having that imposter syndrome and look at the proof, look at the business that I've built, look at the transformations of the students that I've helped, and just know every time I launch this, I'm going to be helping more and more people. It doesn't matter how experienced or inexperienced I am.
So when you launched your beta, which process were you using inside of Business by Design?
So I did, when I first launched it, I literally just did the monetize, before you make it.
Monetize before you make it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is all about. So I think one of the things that I've learned from James, I relate to that so much, because even him having me up on stage with him at events, I was like, well, wait a minute, let me wait a little bit longer. Let me be in the business a little bit longer. I'm transitioning from leadership and brick and mortar retail into digital business. And he was like, no, you're ready now. Let's go now. Let's start getting results for people now. Exactly. And then that for you, when you started to see the testimonials come in from that beta, and that it was 10 people that was in that. I love too that it was 10. You don't have to start with my beta launch as.
It was actually 20. It was actually 20.
Oh, 20. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't have to be, I'm going to launch a course and I'm going to fill it with 100 people. Right. So you start with 20 photographers. And when those testimonials started coming in and you started to be in the thick of the course, did that start to dissipate some of the imposter syndrome that you had felt for 6 months before that?
Yes. And it was almost immediate before I even had like testimonials. As soon as I put these people in a Facebook group and they started chatting and getting comfortable, I would literally teach live. So I would teach, the module live, and I would, answer their questions at the end of it. Cause I was really just trying to figure out the content. What do I want to be teaching every week? And after that first live, I said, hey, if you have any questions, pop them into the Facebook group. And people were in the group like, my mind is blown, and I've been doing it all wrong. And and I'm just like, we're only on module 1.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I want to point out something that you said, because what you said was you were crowdsourcing from your new students. What is the content? And I know that there's a lot of people out there that think, I've got to come up with the entire agenda for a digital course before I launch it. So can you tell me a little bit about that process of putting it out there before it was totally polished and buttoned up?
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of this came from BBD, is like just making that outline. I just needed an outline of what I was going to be teaching.
So talk to me about what that was like when you've launched your beta and you don't have it all polished and buttoned up yet.
Yeah, honestly, I was a little scared at first. I was like, man, I just made thousands of dollars and I have not filmed any bit of content. It was just a little scary. I was like, oh my gosh, like I hope that I come up with the right content. But because I was, doing this as a beta, I felt like, everyone understood this is not going to be perfect. It's not going to be super polished. And I really want your insight. And so that first call, I had already done the outline. I had, gone through BBD and really worked with myself through what do I want my outline from module 1 to module 6 to be. So I knew the topics and I had a couple of bullet points, and I was just really going to talk off the riff. And so I had my first live call. It was over Zoom, and I kind of went through some slides and opened up for Q&A at the end. And I could see the questions coming in. I would say, okay, I need to make sure when I record this as a real module 1, I answer a lot of these questions before they're even asked. Like, it needs to be into the content. So they were truly helping me refine the content. And it was just so helpful to just have people who are literally my students who know what they need, or they think they know what they need. And I'm giving them this content and they're saying, this is great. Can you go deeper into pricing? Can you go deeper into camera settings? How would you, work with this happening? And so every module was just refine until it became like flawless.
And then how much did it change from that first beta into the second one? Like how did you feel going into the second launch?
It was a lot of change. It was a lot of changes. I'm so glad I did the beta, because I can't imagine just throwing something together and charging for it and just hoping that people like it. I felt more confident like recording the actual finalized content, because I had proof. I had the case studies and the transformations, and that really helped me to even speak more clearer about the topic that I was talking about. If I was sitting in that imposter syndrome, I'd be like, okay, let's talk about, just very like insecure with it. So I definitely had more confidence. And as far as the content, I really saw that a lot of my students wanted to focus on marketing and pricing. And so I made that a really big part of the content. I made a lot of bonuses and templates around those two topics, because I said, okay, if everyone is in here asking for more content about marketing, I need to make sure that I have bonuses around this, because people who are going to be watching future webinars or on my email list, that's going to be their objections. Well, I don't know, if I can afford it. Well, great. I have, a pricing template or a pricing bonus that'll help you. It really helped me to really figure out those bonuses that got people into the class.
Yeah. Was there anything that people really wanted to learn that just completely surprised you?
It didn't really surprise, it surprised me the depth. Everyone wants to know marketing. Like,
yes.
Actually, like I thought people were going to be asking a lot about, well, how do you actually photograph them? What are your camera settings? And what gear do you use? That's what I kind of went into it. And everyone's like, no, I already know how to shoot. I needed to tell me how I actually book clients. And I'm like, okay, that's going to be like the foundation of this course.
Yeah. Wow. That's what I tell people sometimes when we're coaching on a beta course is don't get too hung up on, you have to have everything polished, because once you get in there and you start interacting with your students, they might request or ask for something that never even entered your mind. Like when we did the beta course for ILA, in the middle of the year, there was this vibration of a lot of people DMing me asking, what do I do when I'm overwhelmed in my role? And James and I were like, okay, let's just create an overwhelm call. And that ended up being one of their favorite calls of the year. And I could never have predicted that. I never would have added that in a million years. And at the end of the course, we would ask, what was your favorite call or module? And there were so many people who were like, I really loved that piece on overwhelm. And I was like, well, that was totally organic. You guys just generating something in the moment. So anyone listening, I hope you can hear from Angie that one of the things she did very well that was strategic and smart is to go in and stay a little fluid with the concept so that you can ask your students, what do you need? And then adapt the course and the teaching to that. And then as what I can hear in what you were doing that was really masterful is, as you're hearing people ask for more, or you're hearing why aren't you ready to leap into the course yet? As those objections are coming up, then you're generating bonus content that addresses the objection. And that's like ninja.
Right. Exactly. And he's got a whole, in BBD, there's this whole training about, objections. And when I watched it, the 6 months prior when I was going through, the motions, but not really launching it. I was like, oh yeah, this is so helpful. And then when I was in the beta, I watched it again, and that's when it was like, oh, okay.
I love that you say that, because every year, this launch, somebody DM James and said, how much time do I need to block out a day to train in BBD? And his response was 0. You're going to train 0. It's an instruction manual. You're not going to train and watch Lego videos of someone else building a Lego and then get the instruction manual and not do it. BBD is an instruction manual. So I love that you said that, because it just highlights where if you're consuming the modules, but you're not actually in it, BBD is for people who are ready to take action and apply. And the learning starts to make sense as you're in the action. That objection module, I think, is my favorite content
Mine
that's
too.
in the entire course. I think that module is genius.
Yeah, it truly is. And, I still go back to it because sometimes I'll make me maybe have a new offer or a different type of, thing in my business. And I might have all different objections, same audience, same
Yeah.
audience,
So it can
but
shift. Mhm.
yes, absolutely.
So you're on the other side of your cancer journey now.
Yeah.
What is something that's changed in your life out of that experience?
I have way more just freedom and flexibility in my business. Um, and I am intentional about that. After going through cancer, your mindset about life just completely shifts. I was definitely a workaholic before this and just work, work, work. And after it, I'm like, gosh, life is just so short. It's so short. And I don't want to spend 24/7 working. Like I have to live and enjoy life. And so now that I've built this business, built this online business, I have more control of that. I don't have to be out photographing anybody and everybody every day of the week. The bulk of my revenue comes from my online business. So I'm able to pick and choose who I want to photograph, when I want to photograph them. I get to pick and choose, if I want to travel and do some photography, it makes my photography more of like a passion project almost.
Yes.
And I'm able to just be in control of when I'm working, where I'm working. And, for example, tomorrow, we live in Virginia. We are literally getting on a plane and going to Orange County for a month. We are taking a sabbatical for a month. I've never taken any type of trip or business sabbatical. I travel, but I never just go and just like put down work and just really relax. And I'm forcing myself to do that for 30 days. I literally have to remove myself from the house. And, my kids, we're taking them to Disneyland. We're doing all this fun stuff. And I just know, before this, I was like, okay, I got to get an Airbnb for a month. I've got to make sure I have food for Disney. I've got to, not food, money for Disney and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, let me put together a quick launch of something. It's just like, I have more like flexibility with like having the system set up. Maybe I can move this launch up, or maybe I can announce some group coaching or some strategy calls to just bring this revenue, unexpected revenue in my business. And so having these systems just helps me to, at the drop of the hat, just make money on the fly.
Oh my gosh, Angie, I'm so excited for you. That is
I'm
huge.
so excited. I know. I'm so excited. And the first time I really, because we could have went anywhere in the country. And my husband's like, where do you want to go? And the first time I really just felt like this like relief and this relaxation was when I went to BBD Live and in Laguna Beach. And I was just like, man, this Orange County place.
And we're going back to the same hotel.
Oh, are you?
Oh yeah, we're going to be in Orange County.
That's so exciting. And
Just
so when I was picking, I was like, well, we could stay in Orange County and do Disney and Hollywood and all that, I think we're even going to take a train down to San Diego. I was like, let's just go to California. And so I'm excited. And, I feel like I've done a lot of hustling the first 6 months of the year because I was getting ready for this. And now I'm at the place where I don't feel like I have to be attached to my Instagram or my email or in a Facebook group. I'm giving myself the permission to just rest for a month.
It's incredible. And I think what comes to mind there is that sometimes when people think about entrepreneurship from the outside in, when you're window shopping entrepreneurship, it can seem like, wow, that's so much responsibility and pressure to take on your own business. And what if I take on my own business and I'm less free? When actually, when done in the right structural way, it's now producing this experience for you where you get to choose. In this part of the year, I'm going to be really busy and I'm going to be gun ho. And then in this part of the year, we're going to take an entire month-long vacation where I get to take my kids to Disneyland and not even worry about the business, which is completely not possible if you're in a 9-to-5.
Absolutely not. Right. Yeah, I do not miss having to ask a boss for time off.
Oh my gosh, yes. What would you say to anyone out there who's either struggling with imposter syndrome right now in this moment, or they know that they should be taking action in their business, but they just haven't been able to move themselves to do it?
Oh man, I always say when battling imposter syndrome, like for me, what helps me to get out of it is to just do the work. Because when you are doing the work and taking action, you are no longer an imposter. You are actually showing up and doing it. An imposter is going to sit back and talk about other people and how they should be doing it and just, putzing around. But people who are actually taking the action and moving the needle forward, you're not an imposter anymore. And so that's what I had to do. And that's what, when I left BBD Live and I came back so inspired to work, I didn't feel that imposter syndrome anymore because I knew that I was helping people. I was creating amazing content. I was changing people's lives. And now that is just so behind me. Even when I'm launching something new, maybe a new product or maybe higher up in my ascension model, I do have those little creeps of like, okay, like, are you sure that you could be teaching about this? And I'm just like, the way that I battle that is I just do it anyway. I do it anyway. And then on the other side of that, I'm like, man, I'm the person for the job. I'm the person that should be teaching about this. It's like the total opposite of imposter syndrome.
I love that. I love when James will tell people, some of you need to give yourself a pay raise. You need to give yourself a promotion.
Because nobody else is going to.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. What I get to ask this because James isn't in the room, so we get to talk about him while he's not here.
Great.
What do you think is James's secret sauce as a coach?
Oh, wow. I've taken plenty of courses and programs and things like that. And just the big difference with him is all of the mindset that comes with it. Like he really not only gives you that step A to Z, that's what I need, step A to Z, how to do everything, but he helps you understand why you're doing step A and then step B and why C is so important and why you can't skip D. And he's giving you the mindset because there have been launches that have been amazing. There have been launches that maybe didn't beat the last launch. And if I didn't have the mindset to go with it, I would just be like, oh, this was a fail. This was bad. I'm never going to do this again. I'm going to go back to full-time photography. But when you can step outside of it and really see the bigger picture and just see how everything can work together and things can be improved and why this may not have worked or this may have worked, that's what the secret sauce is for me. Because like I said, I've taken other courses and programs and it's just a step by step. And that just doesn't get you all the way through. You have to be changed on the other side, moving from, one-to-one service industry to scaling your business online. That's a big change and a big mindset shift that needs to happen. And if I didn't have that, I would not be as successful as I am right now.
What I can hear out of that is he doesn't just tell you what to do. He teaches you how to think.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
What else do you want to share with people?
I always tell people, especially that are interested in getting into this type of business, just don't wait. Don't wait like I did. Even if you're just getting together your thoughts, together the research, the content, just sitting around. That's what I was doing for 6 months. I watched it. I was like, this is amazing. This is mind blowing. And I went straight back into photographing every day, nights, weekends, and just kind of dreaming. And I think if I would have taken the action, even if it was like, hey, let me sit down and make an outline, or let me do maybe get a couple of photographers on a Zoom call and just have an open conversation, like a focus study, like, hey, what are you struggling with? Like all of that would have pushed me to really take action. And so, like I said, the one thing that pushed me to take action was going to BBD Live and just getting inspired there. But I know if I would have started a little bit earlier, things would have definitely just scaled a lot sooner. And so my biggest advice for people that are sitting on something and they have these big dreams would just take action, do something that moves the needle forward in your online business.
Just something. James has a expression where he calls it the MVP, the minimal viable project. Yes. It's like, what is the next available action for you to take that is actually a small action for you to take? You don't have to go, oh, I'm going to record 16 videos in one day and launch it as a digital course. It's just, I love that you said, like, if you're feeling stuck, go sit down, write an outline. Go do a shot across the bow to your Facebook audience and say, hey, I'm going to offer this. Is anyone interested? Just take an action, take a step. And that's going to start to dissipate that imposter syndrome or just the hesitation or the fear that can come naturally. It's perfectly natural to have fear arise when you're stepping
Absolutely.
into a bigger version of yourself or
Mhm.
putting your stuff out there. That's a very brave thing to do,
Yeah.
to step up as a coach and a teacher. So
Yeah.
take the next available step.
Yes. Absolutely.
Angie, I could talk to you all day. You are such a light,
Oh,
and
thank
thank you
you.
so much for being so generous with your time. Thank you for gifting us with your story. Thank you for deciding that you would record your story and
Oh my
submit it.
goodness.
I
Yes.
don't, yeah, that I don't know if we were on air when you said it, but I know that you said that there was a moment where you were like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna
And
tell my story."
that was a little bit of imposter syndrome. I'm going to be honest. I saw, all the emails about it and I said, oh, I really want to do this, but it's a long shot. Nobody's going to vote for me. I don't know if this story is even impactful. It was 100% imposter syndrome. And what did I do? I just did it anyway. I sat on my
Yeah.
field, like exactly what I've been saying. I was like, okay, I feel this, but it's not going to stop me from potentially, winning this. So
Mhm.
yes, you can be in your fields, but take the action and do it anyway. And I'm so glad I did because I freaking won. Oh my God.
And now you get to come to out to see us in Sedona. We get to have a
Oh my
coaching day.
gosh.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. What a
Crazy.
blessing.
Yes, absolutely.
You are incredible. You are an total inspiration. What do you want to leave people with?
Oh, I would say to really focus on gratitude in everything, in life, in business, in relationships. If you ever feel down or life just really pulls the rug from under you, just sit and just write or think about all the things that you are thankful for and grateful for. And if it's somebody, reach out and tell them because life is so short. And just that'll definitely brighten up your day a little bit, is to just be verbally and out loud just thankful for everything you have.